Today, as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Leahy?
Oh, it is Mike. Yes.
Councilor Leary?
Here.
Councilor Mercia?
Here.
Councilor Milonazo?
Here.
Councilor Rourke?
Here.
Councilor Samaras?
Here.
Councilor Belanger?
Here.
Councilor Elliott?
Here.
Mayor Kennedy? 9 present.
You could see Rodney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence and darken chambers for Constance Cody. She is the mother of the mayor's aide, Celine Gettings. I have known Mrs. Cody since I was a young student at St. John Duck School. There are 6 siblings, her Celine, Francine, and 4 brothers, Roland, Hervé, Louis, and Marcel. And I can tell you they were the love of her life. She was a devoted mother, a devoted grandmother, and I can tell you she was the rock of that family. Her husband passed away early in life, and somehow she managed to raise all 6 of her children, who have all grown up to be very successful in their lives. She was a resident of the Pawtuckaville sections of the city. She was devoted to St. John Duck Church. She was, after the church closed, she became a parishioner of the Holy Family Parish. She enjoyed square dancing. She was a member of the Travelers Square dance group. But most importantly, her faith was important to her, as well as spending time with her family. She'll be sorely missed. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Mercy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't know Constance Cody, but I did attend the funeral along with you, Mr. Mayor. And after the young woman did the eulogy, I felt like I knew her all my life. It was just so beautiful. I'd like to offer a moment of silence for 2 individuals, Louise A. Pigeon, mother of former Lowell Sun photographer Mike Pigeon, and Antonio Anthony DeProfio, father of Lowell High School athletic director Jim DeProfio. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The first order of business is, under the mayor's business, is a resolution to support of the National Park Service. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and go to the second reading. The City Council of the City of Lowell wishes to be recorded in support of the National Park System. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution? We have a motion to approve by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Councilor Leahy?
Yes.
Councilor Leary?
Yes.
Councilor Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Rourke?
Yes.
Councilor Samaras?
Yes.
Councilor Belanger?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
9.
Next, under the city clerk, we have the minutes of the Finance Subcommittee of November 22nd, the minutes of the City Council meeting of November 22nd for acceptance. We have a motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. Discussion. All in favor? All opposed? So voted. Next, we have a communication from the city auditor regarding the FY17 budget report, the year-to-date report for November. Any discussion? Council Milonazo, then Council Lewis.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city auditor, if I could. And again, I appreciate the report. There's a lot of good information there. If you take the 5 months November and divide it into the full fiscal year, we're at about 42%. Some of the items actually are much higher than that, and some are based upon the encumbrances. So I'm assuming that the encumbrances are based on contracts and purchase orders that we have. My question, though, has to do more on the school side, where we actually have some negative numbers. And I guess my question is, at what point will those, and again, there were no encumbrances, but there was a line item for, say, $100,000, and you look over and there's a negative number of $22,000. So I guess my question through the auditor is, at some point during the fiscal year, I would think that would have to balance out and adjust itself.
Mr. Ardo.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I guess there are a couple questions there. One of them, the last one, I guess, trying to go in reverse order for you. The negative in the school department was actually a one-time refund.
Okay.
On, I believe it was through phones, I believe.
Okay.
It was a pretty sizable refund that will still get picked up through the year as we go along.
Okay. Thank you.
There is a good deal of one-time expenditures we keep our eye on. A lot of them have already hit or have at least been encumbered. We're going to continue to monitor what's been encumbered throughout the year, and then as the spring comes along, we're going to review a lot of those items if they've remained encumbered but still not spent. We're going to work on getting them closed out.
Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Leary.
Just through you, Mayor, to the city solicitor regarding the liability and the workers' compensation line items. I just, on the liability side, do we see, I know what our budget is and where we are right now, do you see any other cases that are pending that would go over that amount, or any potential hazards that you see moving forward on the liability side?
There's nothing at present that that jumps out at us. Of course, it's always unpredictable.
Okay. The workers' comp side, it was interests me. I guess the budget right now, we don't really reserve for like developing an IBNR or an incurred but not reported. We do have a line item this year. I'm just questioning, like, for the years for 2014, 15, and to date, what is our closing ratio? I mean, how many cases are we actually having, and how many are we actually being able to really resolve and close?
Sure, it's actually quite good. So, for example, last year, out of roughly 150 cases, we would be in the 80 percentile of cases that were closed out in a 1 to 3 month period, and about 96% overall for a course of a year. And we've probably been in the 90 percentile of closing cases out within a year's time for quite a while. But the real gist of it is that the vast majority, and last year, again, it was something like 80%, maybe a little bit more than that, were closed out in a 1 to 3 month period.
Yeah, that's within 80% in 3 months is way above industry standard. That's outstanding. And having 96%, even for 2015, right? That's pretty good too. Most cases are in the 90%, so you're ahead of the game. And we have a lot of, quite frankly, we have heavy industry. When you're looking at, the police department, the fire department, maintenance workers, what have you, it's not like what we were doing, basically desk jockeys. That's impressive. I guess the question is, what do you attribute that to? Well, why do you think we're doing so well at this point? So I know we had issues because we were looking at an increase in the number of surgical interventions as the means of medical treatment, which just by definition cause costs to rise.
Mm-hmm. The key components would be employees, first of all, that are really working hard at getting better and going to their appointments and doing everything that they need to do to get better. And we do have an early intervention program, which provides nurse case management services and physician services and referrals immediately upon notification of an injury, or as soon as possible.
Good.
So it's a combination.
It's important because we're self-insured. We don't carry reinsurance at any number. We don't have a high deductible for liability and workers' comp. It's coming right off the bottom line. And the fact that we do budget $500,000 for workers' comp, and we're able to close 96% of them is pretty impressive. So thank you very much for that information. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Elliott.
Just to follow up on the workers' comp, through you, Mr. Manager, to the city solicitor, how many individuals do we have on 111F currently, both fire and police?
Sure. Right now, with police, we have 9, and then an additional 4 that are pending ADR. We also, the council was involved
Just,
in
just for the people at home, ADS, alternative disability.
accidental disability retirement.
Okay.
And the council was involved in adopting a light duty program for public safety officers, and there's about 4 or 5 individuals that are currently utilizing light duty as well. So individuals that are going back to work. That's for the police. The fire is probably somewhere around 3 to 4 people. They hover generally from 0 to maybe 3 or 4 at most.
Okay. And what's, on the police, what is the standard typically that you will see?
I think for a police force this size, and given the work that they do, anything under 10 at any given time is actually very good. And I think it was last year that for the first time that I had ever seen, at one point we had actually hit 0, which again is very good.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think since we adopted that, the process that, came out of the law department, I mean, it was up as high as, I think we were one of the highest, if not the highest in the state at one point in time at 39. And I think that's a marked improvement on,
Right.
The process with the occupational therapist and nurse that has been recommended that you oversee. So I think that's really good news.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Chair would entertain a motion to accept the report and place it on file by Council Milonazo, seconded by Council Rourke. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? So voted. If there's no objection, the chair would like to move that we take 2 items out of order, to suspend the rules in order to take item 5.1A and 5.1K out of order. Hearing no objection by general consent, we'll suspend the rules in order to take those 2 matters out of order. And so the first one is the LTC presentation. Mr. Manager.
Thank you. Pursuant to a council motion, is that the council invited Wendy Blow from LTC to give a presentation on the current status of Lowell Telecommunications. And welcome, Wendy, and if you can give us a brief update on the status. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I wondered if I could pass these out, and one of these also. Well, thank you so much for inviting me to talk to you. I'm Wendy Blum. I've been the executive director of LTC for almost a year now, although I was here for 5 years back in the 90s as well, and it's been so great to be back in Lowell. I just wanted to just talk a little bit about some of the strengths and challenges and the goals for the coming year at LTC. I don't know if you know, but LTC has to be one of the best used access centers in the country. You should be very proud of your access center. We have so much community involvement on the channel. We have the 3 channels, and our channel 95, which is our non-English language channel, is jam-packed with programs produced from our studios. We have 15 live shows coming out of our studios every single week, and that is very, very high compared to other access centers. So that's very good. We also have about 230 active community member producers at LTC. But one of our biggest strengths is the support that we get from the city and from our state officials. We really can't do this without City Council, and thank you so much for all that you do. And also thank you for your valuing of government transparency through all of the cable cast of all of your meetings coming out of City Hall. So important. One of our strengths is technology, and we have been really working hard to keep up to date in technology. We are now totally an HD facility at LTC, so we've just updated our big studio to high def. And although we can't cable cast in high def because Comcast isn't allowing us to do that yet, the picture quality is so much better, and we can be HD online as well. Now, the weak link in all of this is this chamber, and we're hoping that in the next year or so, you'll want to upgrade City Hall to high def as well. Some of the new initiatives that we're doing, and I hope that you've all been able to watch LTC News. Has anybody seen that? Seen that show? Okay, it's a weekly half-hour news program that we started in September, and I think it's going very well. We hope to keep that going and improve it as time goes by. It's also a collaboration with the Lowell Sun and the Kamai Post. We have an excellent staff, very professional, and a great board of directors. Jim Leary is on our board, and he's our great liaison to the city council. And the board represents all aspects of the city, which is really great. Some of the challenges that we see primarily stem from changes in the way that people view television now. A lot of people are cutting the cable, getting rid of cable to watch their TV on IP through their computers. And as people do that, the income from franchise fees is going to go down. And I think it hasn't yet, but it is certainly leveled off and probably will start declining at some point. So that is our big challenge, and that's going to be a challenge for the city as well. And the other challenge related to that is when people do cut the cable, we want them to continue seeing our programs, and so we are doing a big push to get our programs online. We're going to be streaming in high definition and getting a Roku channel so that people can watch us in high definition on their TVs. So some of our goals coming up are, well, to continue improving the news, expand our youth program. We really feel that bringing kids into LTC to learn these very valuable media making skills is really essential. Media is such a huge industry in this country. Kids need to have those skills going forward. So we'd like to expand our youth program. We've just started podcasting, just taking audio programs and putting them on the web. That's something that we're going to really put some energy into this year. And also bringing more nonprofits into LTC to help them achieve their missions and improve the quality of life for everyone in the city. So I would like to know if there's anything that City Council thinks that we should be doing that we're not doing.
Thank you. Council Leary?
Just first, I want to thank Wendy for taking the time. Wendy just started, not even a year ago at this point. So Wendy has come into LTC and has done an excellent job to really beginning to bring best practices, not only bring best practices, but actually implement them and adhere to them. And I know that there's always challenges when you're talking about finances, but I think developing a relationship with the financial team, with Connor, I think that's begun this year in terms of budgeting. And it's a challenge because there's never enough money to go around where you want it. I think it's interesting, though, that a lot of the technology, like right now, my father lives in Western Massachusetts, my 80-year-old father, and he's actually watching this. So, hey, Dad. Ultimately, that technology exists. It's important to know that as things change, as technology changes, I think LTC will be setting goals that really will make that access easier for folks as they make that change from cable to other alternative communication. So I'm excited that Wendy's on board. I think there's a lot of challenges, a lot of changes will happen in the near future, and I think the council should be a part of a lot of those changes. I think it's important that we voice our concerns and definitely have to build a good relationship with LTC. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nice to see you again, Wendy.
Yes, nice to see you.
Long time.
Yep.
And welcome back, I should say. But I agree. It's nice to see new programming and new ideas. And my question was, and you do have new high definition cameras.
Yes.
That will be
yes, which you saw
online
yesterday. Yes.
My question is number of subscribers. Do you track numbers? Does the city track numbers on how many subscribers or less subscribers there are?
Certainly Comcast tracks subscribers, but we can't track viewership.
No, you can.
No.
Oh, no, you can't.
No.
But you cannot. Do you identify the number of subscribers, or is that through the? Sorry, Mr. Manager.
That's a great question, one I've been trying to get an answer to, because they do. they can track viewership, but they won't give us the statistics.
Oh, they will not?
They won't.
Okay.
We've tried, and we'll continue to try because they just refuse to give us the statistics.
And that's consistent all across the country. They refuse to give you ratings.
Okay. Okay, and I guess secondly, a number of years ago, this council meeting and other municipal meetings were on Channel 10, closer to the beginning of when people start scanning. And now it's a home shopping channel, I believe. Is there any way for us to get this? I know we're on 99 or 95 now, back to number 10, because people like to,
Well, our hope is that we will actually be up in the 800s eventually, because we'll want to get an HD channel. That's where people are watching now. But it's really the negotiating team from the city that would negotiate that with Comcast.
Okay. And when will that take place? When the contract? So, Mr. Manager, for the president, when is?
It's a 10-year franchise agreement, but they're constantly looking for things. So we'll keep that in mind relative to trying to get that for the city.
Okay. When do you go to HD? Because does everybody have HD now, pretty much, or you have to have an HD television? I don't really know how that works.
Most people have high-definition televisions right now, and I would say that most people are watching television in the high-def range up there. Not everyone, but probably most people.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing. I appreciate the time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on this item? If not, then we'll move on to item K, the opioid epidemic report from the city manager. Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much. The city, this presentation is a response to two motions, one by Councilor Rodney Elliott, the other by John Leahy, relative to the steps that we're taking to combat the opiate abuse issue in the city of Lowell and the staffing levels that we're providing for the police department. Our public safety grant writer, Mary Ann Bellata, was incredibly successful, she and her team, in securing two grants totaling $1.2 million for opiate abuse efforts in the city. And I would like, we have the superintendent of police, I believe the fire chief. There he is right there. There's Jeff. And Mary Ann, if you could come up and just give an overview of what we're going to do with the $1.2 million and what the staffing has been to attack this opiate abuse. And then I think the best thing is to open it to questions that the councilors may have. Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you, through you, to the mayor. Mary Ann Bellata, as you said, has been very successful in getting these two federal grants and an additional one that she'll explain. She's going to give a short presentation on what this involves and how this is going to benefit the city.
Good evening. So I'm going to break it down. We do have three separate grants. The first two are federal funded, and the third is actually a small private grant. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the Smart Policing Initiative, which is funded through the Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Assistance. This grant, we received total $700,000 over a 3-year period, and the programs that it's going to help fund is the Community Opioid Outreach Program and the Project CARE. It includes the police department, the health department, the fire department, the Mental Health Association of Greater Lowell, Lowell House, and our research partners with UMass Lowell and Suffolk University. So just a brief overview of the partner roles. So part of what the police department is going to be doing is tracking and analyzing the data. We're also, we have been and will continue to commit a full-time officer who's under the current staffing to the co-op program. And we'll have some additional funding for home visits to the recent overdose victims. And then Lowell Health Department will be able to hire 2 part-time substance abuse counselors that specialize in mental health. Lowell House will be hiring 2 substance abuse counselors that's with recovery coach training, which is very important with this epidemic. The Mental Health Association of Greater Lowell is going to be funding a clinician that is going to be focused more on the children who are witnessing these overdoses and helping them dealing with the trauma of this. The fire department, who's currently staffing the co-op program with one firefighter, and will continue to staff with one firefighter. And then UMass Lowell and Suffolk, as I mentioned, are the research partners. So overall, smart policing goals for the grant are to increase the capacity of the police department and the social service agencies and the health department to address this issue, increase the access to treatment for the overdose victims, decrease the arrest rates of the those enrolled in the co-op program and comparing that to those not enrolled, the reduction in the effects of the trauma experienced by the children, and to inform research, policy, and future programs. So the next grant is also funded through the Department of Justice. It's the Harold Rogers Prescription Drug Monitoring Program grant, and where the Smart Policing grant really focuses on addressing the needs of the overdose victims and the children of those victims. The PDMP, as we call it, is really addressing the investigative needs and the overprescribing of the prescriptions. So the total amount of this award is $567,000, just over. Also a 3-year grant award. The partners include the police department, the DA's office, the state police, the health department, and again, UMass Lowell for our researcher, and Dr. Melissa Neiman is going to be building a database where we're going to be tracking real comprehensive data for the victims of the overdoses. The police department will be, the goal is to create a fatal overdose review panel to really understand the root of the problem of the overdose victims, where exactly the issue is starting, to help inform policies and identify gaps in services. Work closely with the Lowell Health Department, and the Lowell Health Department will be hiring a substance abuse coordinator for the city. That person's really going to be streamlining services to address this problem in the city. And UMass Lowell will be the program evaluation. Overall goals of the PDMP is to strengthen the collaborative efforts and streamline the efforts that are currently going on in the city. Incorporate a variety of data sources, like I mentioned before, including the Massachusetts Prescription Monitoring Program data to better understand drug use trends and gaps in services in the city. Enhance the capacity of the law enforcement to investigate fraudulent prescriptions and overprescribing, and informing prescribers of the PMP and the importance of using the prescription monitoring program, the Massachusetts PMP. And to, again, the big component is the research part of this is going to be informing research policy to identify where the gaps in services are and to inform policy moving forward. And we do have a small grant from Leahy Hospital Community Collaborative, which is $25,000, and this is really focused on, there's a small amount going to the police department, and the majority is going to the Mental Health Association of Greater Lowell. Again, this is to build the capacity of the co-op program to address the needs of overdose victims with co-occurring mental health and substance abuse disorders. And so I know that was really quick and a brief overview.
I think it's important for the people here and the people at home, if the superintendent and the fire chief, could you just explain what your role is in the project, the co-op plan, just exactly what you do as part of that? I think it's a really dynamic program we have, but want to explain to everybody the partnership we have in the city relative to that co-op plan that a lot of this money is going to be used for. Then I'm going to ask Janine Durkin from the school department to come up and talk about the school curriculum.
Sure, thanks, Mr. Manager. I'd like to thank Superintendent Taylor for developing this important co-op program. And it consists of, right now, of 3 people that go out every day into the streets. They visit with the victims of this terrible epidemic and follow up with these people and try to get them into programs. There's a firefighter, a police officer, and a public health worker from the Lowell House. And with this grant funding, we'll be able to expand the program and try to get more people into programs. They're also visiting some of the homeless camps and trying to coax these people into getting into programs. So I'd like to thank both Superintendent Taylor and Mary Ann and her staff for securing the funding to help keep this program going. And some of this grant money also is going towards life-saving Narcan. And we're carrying Narcan on all the 13 fire companies, and we're responding to all the overdoses and providing rescue breathing and administering Narcan along with the police and the EMTs and the paramedics in the city. So these federal grant funds are helping quite a bit, and I'd like to thank them both.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And, not to go back over everything that's already been said, but this is a unique program. I think it's a model across the state, and I think that's why one of the reasons we were so successful in achieving these 2 federal grants, which are very substantial funding that allows this program to go forward. The whole concept is to save lives, to get people that we know have recently overdosed. And we know statistically those people that have recently overdosed and survived are at a very heightened likelihood to potentially not survive the next time. 50% of the people that result in a fatal overdose had recently overdosed before that. So we know it's critical to get the people that just overdosed and survive into some kind of treatment. And this is an effort to marshal all of our collective resources of the community, both the police, fire, and now, with this funding, a critical component of this will be the Lowell Health Department. They did not have the capacity to really weigh into this beforehand. With this grant, now they can be actually a leadership role in this, which is really where they should be, because it's a public health and a public safety emergency. So it's great. And, the fire department, under Chief Winwood, this is a novel program for fire departments in this state. I think, as far as I know, we're the first fire department that has dedicated full-time personnel to this effort, and I can't say enough about his partnership and the whole fire department's partnership in this endeavor. So,
Thank you. A key partner, and I know the councilors have been interested in the past, is the Lowell School Department, and especially the curriculum that they have developed to try and help the children in our schools understand the dangers of this opiate issue. And Janine Durkin, the Assistant Superintendent for Student Support Services, is here. And if you could just briefly tell the council and the people what our curriculum is addressing relative to this issue.
So I want to thank you for the opportunity to provide you with this update. Since I last spoke at the city manager's opiate task force to provide an update, there has been some movement in the schools relative to the curriculum and additional programming to support students around opiate awareness. We know that working collectively with the police and fire department and our community partners, that it's critical to support young children early in prevention so that the abuse doesn't take place. So in those efforts, we have been very active in reaching out to try to get some grants for the programming, but in the interim, we didn't want to wait to establish a curriculum. So currently in place, we have Healthy Futures in our middle schools that is providing healthy choices curriculum. They have agreed to partner with us and provide additional lessons specifically around substance abuse prevention. I'm happy to report that in meeting with the health department and Lowell General Hospital that they've approved this, and they're providing us with the funding to go forward with this for this year. Additionally, through the Office of the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum, Robin Desmond, we met today, and there is an additional grant through the Attorney General's office that we are going to be applying for, and that would be to afford us curriculum to be able to purchase curriculum and potentially some training to expand the substance abuse prevention efforts at the 4th grade level, utilizing a research-based curriculum life skills training, which has been supported by the state, as well as utilized in a number of our local communities with a lot of positive feedback around it. So we're very excited about that opportunity as well. Additionally, we've been working with the health department and the nursing unit around putting together the expert training, which by law we will be required to conduct in all students in 2 grade levels, 2017-18. And this training is specifically to support our students in finding out if students are actively using, and to provide, to get them some supports if they ask for those supports. So presently, in preparation for that, we are, the nursing department, as well as our school social workers and guidance counselors, are preparing to go to the state-sponsored training so that they can be ready to roll in August of 2017, and we will be piloting that in 1 grade level, 1 school this year as well, to make sure that things are smooth and ready to roll in the fall. Additionally, starting this month, the Improbable Players, a theater troupe that is known throughout the state, is providing programming in all of our middle schools as well as at Lowell High School. And we're working with our school social workers to make sure that there's supports for students after those performances. I'm happy also to report that 1,500 plus students from Lowell attended the Youth Summit today. And I couldn't stay for the whole event, but what I saw is you could hear a pin drop in the room that was about 90% filled at the Songus Arena. And so we're really happy that we're able to participate in that and have our middle school students as well as our freshman students participate. So we continue to actively look for grants, and we're getting really creative, even though the finances aren't there, but we'll make it happen for students. So I welcome any questions that people have.
Thank you. Any questions from the city councilors? Council Belanger.
No, Mr. Mayor, no questions, but I do have a statement I would like to comment, that the city of Lowell has become the leader on this issue. And there's evidence to prove that. I want to share something with my colleagues and all the folks at home, that I received a call today from Boston, and as chairman of the Opiate Task Force in the city, I have been invited to be a panelist at January's MMA convention to share with other cities and towns across the Commonwealth what the city of Lowell is doing. So I'm very excited to be on the stage that day. Although I may have the privilege of being on the stage, I am part of a team, and it's as a result of the hard work of my colleagues on this council, the fire, the police department, the school department, the health department. There are so many players involved that I cannot wait to share all this wealth of information of what the city of Lowell is accomplishing on this issue. So I want to thank, in particular, Mary Ann Bellata for surmising $1.3 million in grants to combat this crisis, from anything from prevention to linking individuals with services to mental health. It's all inclusive. That's how we have become the leader on this issue. It's you know, we feel very deserving here in the city of Lowell, as what bears mentioning is that these overdoses, whether they're fatal or non-fatal, as much as half of these individuals are not from Lowell. And it's easy to say we're deserving of these funds, but you have to go out and get them. They're not just handed to you. So I want to commend Mary Ann Bellata on her hard work of bringing home this money that is so badly needed in our city, and the hard work from Chief Davis, Chief Taylor, Jeff Winwood of the fire department. It's just an extraordinary teamwork that's going on here in the city of Lowell, and I'm very excited to be there in Boston on behalf of my city on that day. And I want to thank all these individuals for their hard work. In particular, Janine Durkin spoke of the education component is very, very important, because it's so important that we don't lose the next generation, that we stop this cycle of addiction. That's why we're fighting very, very hard to have opiate education into the curriculum, and it's a very important component in this battle. So much is going on, Mr. Mayor, so I want to thank all these individuals involved for their hard work on this issue. And although numbers aren't trending in our favor at this time, we will soon see improvement. There's no doubt in my mind. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion? Counselor Leahy.
Thank you. I just wanted to echo what Council Belanger said. We want to thank everybody for coming in, all your hard work, the work that Councilor Belanger and Councilor Mercier and everyone else that goes to these meetings, and all of you. It is very important that we don't lose the next generation to this. And, you know, sometimes we're a little bit tough on the school curriculum, but it's important, and you certainly stepped up to the plate, and we appreciate it. And Chief, if I could just ask you one question, sure. This is all great stuff that we talked about tonight. Can I just ask you one question? I don't want to put you on the spot, but a question other people will ask us too is, so what are we doing to stop the dealers, you know? Can we just comment a little on that?
Thank you. So you heard about education, which is the future and ultimately the salvation. You've heard about the treatment and assistance to people that are already addicted. The other component of this, very important, is the enforcement aspect of it. And that's our responsibility as the police department, working with our partner law enforcement agencies. And I absolutely agree with that. We have to do everything we can to make sure that the people either bypass Lowell or that we hold them accountable, the people that are dealing drugs in our community and are responsible, profiting off other people and their families' demise in this situation. We have a group of officers. In the response, you'll see there's 7 officers dedicated essentially full-time to our special investigation section, and it's full-time essentially on this topic. Focusing on the opiate epidemic and fentanyl and heroin coming into our community. In another capacity, we have 3 officers assigned to DEA and state police task forces. That's of a big benefit to the city because in addition to being a force multiplier, they're embedded in a group of other officers from other cities and towns, federal agents and state police troopers. That force multiplier comes into the city to help us with our investigation. They also bring financial resources, money, equipment, surveillance capabilities, wiretap capabilities into our community that can go specifically after the mid and upper level dealers. So those 2 things are very important. We know that the dealers that are involved in this, they use technology. They certainly don't respect geographic boundaries. As a matter of fact, they use that against law enforcement. So that's why these task force operations are very, very effective and very important. I am proud to say that the Lowell Police Department was, again, the first in the Commonwealth to be invited in to a new state police task force that was formed in the Merrimack Valley, North Shore area to specifically target fentanyl and heroin trafficking. We were the first agency they went to and asked us to participate in. And again, that's one of the 3 officers that are assigned to that. And I think that's a compliment to the men and women of my organization. So,
Thank you very much. It really all goes hand in hand. And all the hard work that you and your police department do, the fire department, the school system educating. So this is something, you know, we're really taking this matter head on here and really working hard. And the administration should be commended and everybody here. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Counsel. Counsel Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager, I had the opportunity this morning to go with my captain from the sheriff's office, along with Councilor Belanger, to the youth summit this morning. It was remarkable, and I was very impressed. Lowell High School was well represented. It was just amazing. There were numerous speakers that really brought the point home. There were schools, middle schools. There were 3 or 4 middle schools, the Robinson School, the Sullivan School. Middle school, we need to target the middle school. But I was a little taken aback by the fact that the Greater Lowell Voc was not there. Now, I texted my grandson, who goes to the Voc, and I asked him, are you on your way down here? And he said, we weren't. I don't know anything about it. None of us are going. I don't know. The students at the Voc School may be in Tingsboro, but they're our students. They're our children. So I'm asking through you, Mr. Mayor, to you, Mr. Manager, I don't know what programs are going on at the Voc. Maybe they saw this presentation before, I don't know, but they missed a great opportunity if they didn't see this before. And I'm a little perturbed to know that there was still room. There were schools from Mashpee, Haverhill High School, but no Voc school. Maybe they seen it before, maybe I'm talking out of turn, I don't know. But because of their absence, I'm wondering, what are our students learning up there? What type of deterrent and education are they getting? I'm not saying they're not getting it, I just really was taken aback today when they weren't there. Those are our children. I want you to see if you can find anything out. Lift my spirits a bit, because this is a crisis. And when they weren't there, that was a crisis to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question, and this is on the response to the motion, following up on Council Leahy relative to enforcement, because I think that we have gotten well ahead of the curve in prevention and education and even treatment to some degree. And I do think sort of the next priority is enforcement. And it was good to see it was Operation Triple Play. Was it this summer? And there were 22 arrests. So I noticed in the report there's 200 arrests, fentanyl, heroin, other drug-related arrests. That's about 20 a month, 5 a week. How does that compare to other communities, other cities, when it comes to arrests? I know you can do more if you need more resources and more officers, and I personally think this is really a focus that we need to prioritize, and that is enforcement, not only here but in the Merrimack Valley. Are we ahead of the curve? We below? We in the middle? Or
Counselor, I'm not sure of where we compare with other communities. I know we're doing quite a bit, and I know that our posture in terms of these investigations are very important. And I can get that data for you to see how we compare against the rest of the state. But I think you're absolutely right. We need to push this forward. We need to make sure that people that are dealing, especially these incredibly deadly combinations of drugs, fentanyl and heroin in our community, that are resulting in really destroying families and lives in this community, are held accountable. And I think that's one of the aspects of the prescription drug monitoring grant. It stands up a whole system where we can look at prescription drug monitoring, put together a panel that are going to review each one of these individual overdose deaths and see if we can work with the district attorney's office, the state police detectives, our detectives, and hold people accountable. And so I think that's another benefit of the grant, that we'll be able to do that.
Yeah, no, I think it's huge. I think the fact that prescription medications are being scrutinized significantly, and those numbers are up to 30,000. It's 30,000 a day, a month, a week. It's significant. When it was non-existent, is quite beneficial. Do you think? Just one more question, Mr. Mayor. On the state level, it's a regional, the state's a national level when it comes to drug enforcement, and there are resources there. But considering what's happening, I think here, particularly in Massachusetts, on the state level, do you see perhaps with this task force that there will be increased efforts to provide additional police officers specifically just for drug enforcement? Is that something that we should be looking for? Is that just, okay, we're going to give you more money, and it's up to the community?
So here's what I can tell you. I think everybody, both in federal, state, and local law enforcement in this New England area, have marshaled essentially all of our available resources to this issue. But I can tell you, unfortunately, I was at a presentation at the International Chiefs of Police Conference in San Diego, and I specifically went to the presentation by the Mexican Federal Police, along with our DEA that is assigned to Mexico City. And they gave a very sobering presentation. And on the map that they displayed, now this is a map supplied by the Mexican police, they had 3 big lines pointing directly up to Massachusetts, which was highlighted in red. The next closest community, if you were going to draw a comparison, I think was in the Midwest or down in the southern part of the country. So from the Mexican police, they are telling us that the Mexican drug gangs are, have targeted Massachusetts for this, influx of fentanyl and heroin mixture into our community. So we are ground zero. There's no question about it. And that's why this is a public safety and a public health emergency in this area. And that's a very sobering presentation when you sit there and you view that.
Yeah, I agree, and it's sobering, but it's reality, and that was, that's my understanding as well, that we are, I like that, it's ground zero. We, for some reason, this is the focus here, and we need every resources on the federal, particularly the federal government, because we're doing our fair share, but, and we're saving lives, so maybe overdoses are going down, but there's more Narcan, sometimes 2 and 3 instances where we're saving lives, but we're paddling upstream, and we need to charge forward with more effort now. On if you reduce the supply, then that's going to reduce the overdose. So thank you for the information. I appreciate the report. I think it's important that we let the people at home know that we're taking it from every approach, and now it's the enforcement effort that is going to stem the tide, and it's a national effort. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Councilor Milonazo.
Mr. Mayor, first of all, thank you all very much for being here. It was a terrific presentation, a lot of good information. As Councilor Belanger just indicated, Lowell is clearly on the cutting edge of working on this issue. My question has to do with articles that have appeared in the last couple of weeks. I think from the District Attorney's Office and maybe the Attorney General's Office about releasing nonviolent drug offenders back into the community. I guess my question to the Chief would be, what impact do you see that having based upon almost census information from, say, the Middlesex Sheriff's Department? What is that going to do to our efforts if we all of a sudden have even though nonviolent, they're still drug offenses that they were put in jail for, being released? What impact will that have on our community? If that happens, I mean, this is just being talked about.
Yeah, I'm not specifically aware of the individual item that you're talking about, but what I can tell you is that it certainly complicates it, right? And I think what we know, and I know Councilor Mercia has been involved in this, the drug court is a very good vehicle to use because it allows people that are, have an issue that need treatment. They need our assistance, right? And without assistance, they're not going to overcome this issue. It's too debilitating, right? So, but what we knew, the model that works the best is that they get the treatment with supervision. So they're held accountable to some account. Drug court's a very good example of that. I think everybody that has experience with the drug court, I think, speaks well of it. Councilor Rourke is obviously very involved in it. And there's other models like that, and I know the district attorney is looking at a diversion program. Right. The key component to all of these is their supervision. Their feet are held to the fire to get a supervised treatment.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? If not, thank you very much. Those are the 2 items for which we suspended the rules. Councilor Elliott is asking that we suspend the rules for item 9.7, which is a motion that he has on. And the reason for the suspension of the rules is there are some young Lowellians in the audience that want to go home soon. So if there's no objection, by general consent, we'll suspend the rules. We have a motion by Councilor Elliott. Request that the city manager meet with representatives of Roberto Clemente Little League, the Little League, regarding field space. Second by Councilor Milonazo. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are Representative Maria and Carmen from the Roberto Clemente League are here with a couple of young players. So if you want to come up, I'll speak after. But the motion speaks for itself, Mr. Mayor. It's this is a league in the city. It's volunteer. They kind of shuffle around to any available space, in the city. And most of the kids, if not all, are from the acre section of the city. And Roberto Clemente Park on Branch Street. Well, it's Middlesex Street. It's not a baseball. It's not a little league anymore. It's volleyball courts and bocce and playground equipment. And this is the hero. This is the hero for many Latino the Latin community, as we all received an email. So I've spoken to Keith Rudy, the Acre Youth organizer or Acre organization. He is here, and they're willing to collaborate to find a field that they can call home for, for their kids. And I think that it's all volunteer. Maria, I don't know how you do it. She does dance. She really spearheads all the effort for this league. It's a tireless job. And with that, Maria, do you want to finish up?
Muy buenas noches. Mi nombre es María Claudio. Soy presidenta de la Liga Roberto Clemente de Lowell desde 2008. Ellas son parte de board de nosotros. Ellos van a hablar inglés y yo hablo español. Okay. El propósito de nosotros que estamos aquí es solicitando a nosotros que se nos dé un parque que lleve el nombre de Roberto Clemente. Dale, habla tú.
Yeah, we just want, we're here to help her to keep going with the Roberto Clemente Park. We're trying to get the kids together and, keep them out of the street, and keep them safe and, have them all with us, keep the community going and try to keep them out of the streets.
Yo uso 3 parques que me da la ciudad, que es el Oliveira Field, Ryan Field y Manning Field. Pero nosotros necesitamos un parque que tenga baño, porque los juegos de nosotros siempre son con personas de afuera.
We're trying we play with the Oliver Field, the Ryan Field, and
Manning Field.
Or Manning Field, by the cemetery by Target. We go up there too, and we're trying to, get like bathrooms and stuff, and try to have the city or somebody that could help us, keep it clean and stuff. And when the other, like Lawrence comes down or whatever, Boston, we just have to try to do our best to keep it clean, because we don't know who we could like contact and have them, clean the field and stuff like that, keep it clean. So when we try to get the other teams come down and stuff. Because we travel a lot, but we don't have a vehicle, and we're trying to get with her and going with that, so.
Sorry, nosotros lo que queremos es mantener la liga aquí en Lowell, que no tengamos que salir afuera a jugar con otras ciudades. Eso le beneficiaría mucho a la ciudad de Lowell, que nosotros atraigamos personas aquí como Boston, Nashua, New York, Puerto Rico, que hemos jugado nosotros, pero lo que necesitamos es un parque que sea, como quien dice, de nosotros, pero que tenga sus baños, sus facilidades para nosotros poder jugar aquí y no salir afuera a jugar.
Okay, all she wants is a park, a home field where she could bring people from Boston, Lawrence, Haverhill, Nashua, New York, and Puerto Rico and come and play with us. We don't have a home field. Baseball league, and this is what we're trying to actually run a home field league. We don't want no money or anything. We're trying to keep the kids out of the street and all that. And all we want is you guys to help us out and continue with Roberto Clemente. Right now, this park, Roberto Clemente name is in Washington Park, and we're trying to get the plaque to see if we could get another field and bring the name Roberto Clemente to that field and continue with the baseball field as Roberto Clemente.
Okay, thank you. The motion is to send it to the
Like
city
right
manager.
now, we got a lot of signature from a lot of people, and we're trying to see how many more we can do.
Councilor Elliott, the motion is to send it to the city manager to have him meet with them in order
We
to
still
come
have
up
more
with the time.
signatures to collect. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. No, that's the essence of the motion. The kids are in the acre. They can't transport them all over the place. I know Keith Rudy's here. I did speak with Keith Rudy. He is the heart of the acre, and he's run AYU for the longest time. I don't know how you did it on a shoestring.
Well, we have some great news for them, for this group, and we have worked with them before, but Rodney is going to set up a meeting. We have a field for them in the acre. We have equipment for them, and we think we have some sponsors to help them get it started. So I think after a couple meetings, sitting down with Councilor Elliott and this group here, I think we can handle their wishes.
Okay, thank you. Okay?
So that's the essence of it. Hopefully there is a field that they can dedicate so they can play their games there and host tournaments and raise money to, to keep the league going. And they're very active in the Acre and the CBA. And it's important, as Maria mentioned, to keep keep them busy, keep them off the street. And, it's all volunteer. And, just like all the years, Kiki kept kids involved. It comes to fruition. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any
Mr.
further
Mayor.
discussion? Council Mercer.
Mr. Mayor, could we refer this issue about the park to the Parks Subcommittee? And we could probably sit down and work it out. I think that would be great. If we could find a park and have that name, Roberto Clemente, go to your respective park, because over the years, I have had Southeast Asians ask me if we could name that Palin Park. And we said absolutely not, even though the prevalent group is the Southeast Asians. We just can't take a name that was dedicated for a park and wipe it out because another ethnic group is there. So this would work out so perfect if we could then present you with the Roberto Clemente Park, and then they could have a name. That would be magnificent. And I think that could happen. Working with Keith Rudy and Councilor Elliott, I'm sure we'll come up with something. That'd be great. Thank you.
Councilor, are you asking to suspend the rules in order to refer it also to the Board of Parks? The motion is to refer it to the city manager, so that the city manager can meet with that group to come up with a park. Would you like to refer it to the Board of Parks as well? Is that what you're asking?
Sure.
Okay,
As
and
long
second
as
it to the-
we know
Yeah,
it's.
no, I don't have any objection. That's the purpose of it. They want Roberto Clemente. No one's playing, was the Washington Street.
That's right.
Yeah, that's for sure. So that's the purpose. It's kind of a win-win, but we have to find them a place first, and perhaps move the plaque, and then go through the motion. So I think it's important to ensure that field is not named for anyone yet. I mean, Kiki would know, and I think Tom Bellegarde, I already spoke to him. He knows, but I have no objection to sending it anywhere as long as they get the park. We move the plaque and perhaps move on from the next stage. Thank you.
Okay, so we have amendment to the motion by Council Mercia, second by Council Elliott. Any discussion on the amendment? All in favor, all opposed, so voted on the main motion as amended. Any further discussion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. All right, so Council Rourke has asked that we take item 9.8 out of order. There are 5 registered speakers for item 9.8. So if there's no objection by general consent, we'll take 9.8 out of order. 9.8 is a motion by Council Rourke, request that the city manager of the proper department install new lights at South Common Park. Second by Councilor Samaras. Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. I know we do have speakers. That whole area where South Common is ready to be transformed over the next 3 to 5 years. And as Councilor Belanger states all the time, that's actually a gateway into the city of Lowell where that area is. So I think now's the time we start working on the South Common Park. It's been a long time, and it's basically underused. So hopefully, after we hear the speakers and some of the council comments, we can move on to not only lights and some other motions that I'll be bringing forward in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. So there's 5 people registered to speak.
John McDonough.
My name's John McDonough. I live at 26 Highland Street in this lovely Lowell, Massachusetts. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for your service to our community. Lowell is a much better place because you guys run for office and you champion the leadership of Lowell. Thank you very much. Kevin, you and your staff, fantastic job. Now, South Common. I'd like you to drive by that place today on your way home and see how dark it is. It's that dark in the summertime. When all the kiddos are off of school, the younger kiddos, my granddaughters, they're 3, 6, they're very, very young. It's a real melting pot of Lowell. They play over there on the swing set with Americans. They don't look at color, they don't look at any of that stuff. They have a good time over in the South Common. The older kids got skateboards, that's about it. Once it becomes dark it's a scary place. You guys got a busy night ahead of you. I know you'll do the right thing. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Paul Marion.
I'm Paul Marion. I live at 44 Highland Street, right across the street from the South Common. Been there for 25 years. I'm on the Common every day with my Boston Terrier. I was very pleased to see this motion brought forward by Councilor Rourke. I've been involved in the sort of community side of the effort to try to get the South Common back to a first-class status, going back to the 2008, 2009. Diane Trad and DPD worked with Brown and Borough Architects and came up with a really ambitious and terrific renovation plan for the Common. And I want to thank the city leadership and the State House leadership for now bringing forward the funds so that next spring, we're going to see some of those upgrades happen. It's fantastic. The idea of adding lights and making the Common more useful, more hours of the day and each week, I think can only be good. At one time, it was one of the premier parks in the city. There were fountains. I mean, it was a real show place. We all know about Ladd and Whitney, the monument out front here, and the Lowell soldiers who went to Washington at the beginning of the Civil War. What isn't as well known is that when they rotated back to Massachusetts in the summer of 1861, there was a huge welcome back celebration for them on the South Common. When we had the National Folk Festival preceding the Lowell Folk Festival, I believe we had the 50th anniversary of the National Folk Festival one of those years, and we had 10,000 people around the bowl of the South Common with the stage down on the bottom of the Common. It's a place with great history. It's got even, in a sense, greater potential now with all the redevelopment that's going on between Thorndike Exchange and the Justice Center, the Lord Overpass redevelopment. This is the right time, to bring the South Common back as one of the premier parks in the city. And as a resident, I want to say thank you and urge you to move on this. And in my role as the Lowell Heritage Partnership President, I want to say on behalf of the group that, we're always excited to see another, public space, recreational space, green space in the city improved. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Ted Rurak.
Good evening. My name is Ted Rurak, and I reside on 242 Wentworth Ave. The purpose of this motion, I believe, is prudent investment that will enhance the neighborhood as well as provide mixed and many more opportunities for our children of Lowell. All of you have served in one form or another dealing with our children in the city of Lowell or in higher education. And I think all of you are aware about the challenge of mitigating missed opportunities for our kids. And this is a wonderful opportunity that will not only enhance the South Common neighborhood, make it a safer environment, but also provide many, many more opportunities for the children of Lowell. It's basically two elements that you are all aware of. In education, you're aware that the arts and athletics are key elements to academics and children's success. It's an opportunity that the city has. It's an opportunity to make the environment of that neighborhood far more enhanced. It's a win-win situation, and I strongly recommend and request respectfully that you support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Keith Rudy.
Keith Rudy, 28 Haley Road, Lowell. That area in the park, has a lot of historic value to the city, but especially now where the city's going to invest a lot of money in that area with the big Salapolis development and the overpass being developed, I think it's time that we take back that park and get some of the residents that are living in that park now and get them out of there and let's use the park for what it's supposed to be used for. And that is for recreational. And I think we need to get the kids back there and using and fixing up that field. And I think putting the lights there, I think will give it a longer day of using it for different reasons. Right now, we're short on parks, as you just heard the group speak earlier. And a lot of times, we're in our baseball field, and we got soccer people practicing out there because there's no place for them to practice. You got lacrosse now, being very popular in Lowell, using our fields. So now you're getting in arguments about, who got the permit, who doesn't get the permit. So the more fields that we can have in this city, and it's a combination. You talk about opiate problems and everything else. We're putting these kids in a positive environment. I think that's part of the issue. It's not the big issue, but it's part of the issue, keeping these kids in a positive environment at a young age. You talk about reaching that young group. This is the group. But you got to have the location. You got to have the space for these people. And I think putting lights up there, I think is badly needed, especially in that area. You got a lot of people that commute from Lowell that work and take the train, and they won't walk through that park when they come out. If they got to live in Lowell, got to cross through it, they won't walk through that park, not at night. It's a shame. That park is a shame, and I'm not blaming anybody here, but it's time we take that park back and give it back to where it belongs, to the city, the residents of the city of Lowell, and the children of the city of Lowell. Thanks.
Thank you.
Marty Ty?
Hi, Marty Ty, 17 Hoyt Avenue in Lowell. Wanted to just speak in favor of this. I work with Lowell Junior High football as well as I coach girls lacrosse, and we practice at Machado Field at College Stadium. And Lowell Junior High football is a free football league. We haven't charged for 15 years. We've grown considerably. We're at 150 kids now. We have 6 different teams, and we practice on 50 yards of turf at Machado Field. When I heard about this opportunity that may come to fruition, I couldn't be more in favor of it, not only from a space standpoint, but because what we do is try to offer this to the children of the city free of charge, and it's a positive influence for folks looking for that outlet. But in addition to that, it's very difficult for kids to get from the Acre, Centerville, Lower Highlands over to the Machado Field, Tewksbury line when parents are working or whatever it may be. They don't have access to transportation. So when I heard about this initiative, I couldn't be more in favor of it because kids could actually walk to practice. And especially in the fall when it gets dark and it gets cold, it's difficult for a kid to walk his way down Route 38 to different sections of the city. So I wanted to speak in favor of this, not only for Lowell Junior High football, if that could be down the road, but also for other leagues which are practicing over there. I think it would involve many more kids in the city at many different sports that practice over at College Stadium. It'd just be so much easier for these kids to access that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes the speakers. Is there any more? Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you all the speakers that came out in support of this motion. We talk about the kids and the underuse of the park. There's also a public safety aspect to the area. The two, you want to have athletic events, cultural events, and those things just can't happen at the South Common with the way, the shape it's in, and no lights in the area. So, like I said, Mr. Manager, this is the first of, I think, of multiple motions you're going to see concerning the South Common Park, and hopefully this can be done rather quickly so we can move on to other areas. As Mr. Rudy said, to really take the park back. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I think this is a great motion by Councilor Rourke. In the past, Mr. Manager, as you know, I put in a motion to support the families that planned to renew the South Common, and you've been taking steps over the years for a renewal, piece by piece, to bring South Common back to what it was at one time. But I think Council Rourke's motion to have lights put up there now is, I think, very, very important. It's the only park in that area, and it serves back Central Street. It serves literally the center core of the city in that area of the city. And I think to do this at this particular point will address a lot of needs. We do need the extra fields. We do need to ensure that we have the proper areas and facilities for our children to learn and play. So I'm very pleased to support this motion And I think the lighting program should be started almost immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Leary.
No, I think, I just want to echo the sentiments that were said by the speakers. I think it is time to take the park back. I think the investment, Mr. Manager, that you're putting in regarding the sidewalks, the investment that we're going to be putting in the Innovation District, as well as what we're doing right now on just reviewing the Lord Overpass, this is a good time to do this. I think we talk about using of the fields. I think that Marty Ty are presented. I know Councilor Elliott and I, with the youth soccer, are always looking for fields to coach soccer practice on, and we're running all over the city trying to find those opportunities. So I think this is an excellent time. I think the motions that Councilor Rourke is presenting is really looking at what can we do with that field? How can we improve it, not only for athletics, but for, as Paul Marion was saying, cultural events. So I'm very enthusiastic of supporting this motion. I think the opportunity, very optimistic about the opportunity at what this will actually present, and I thank the speakers for coming down. I think what they've presented here today is what the future could be and what the future is going to be once we get ourselves in the right direction with a plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm also in support of this motion. I think it's a great motion by Councilor Rourke that's obviously was well received. We heard from neighborhood residents. We've heard from coaches that are very involved with youth activities. And as Councilor Leary reiterated, yes, it's certainly time we take this park back. It's been neglected for a long, long time. And it can start with lighting. But most certainly, I would like to make a motion, refer this to the Park Subcommittee to see about the possibility of perhaps AstroTurf, even enhancing Councilor Rourke's motion to further youth sports. It's centrally located, as Marty Ty said. I think that's very important to these inner-city kids who don't have access to transportation. This would be very helpful to them. So with that being said, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to refer this to the Park Subcommittee and look in and enhance Councilor Rourke's motion by the possibility of adding AstroTurf to South Common.
Okay, thank you. Council Belanger wants to amend the motion to send it to the Park Subcommittee, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Discussion on the amendment to the motion. All in favor, all opposed? Any further discussion on the main motion as amended? Councilor Lee.
Thank you. I just want to thank the speakers for coming down. I know that we've talked about this in the past, and there may be something in the capital plan, Mr. Manager, for this park too, but it's a great motion, and all the points are well taken, and that park can be so much more. So looking forward to what we can do in the coming years for that park. And as Councilor Belanger is always saying, you know, there's some advertising opportunity there too, the Belanger end zone or something like that. So we've got a lot of opportunity to spruce that park up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Councilor Elliott.
Mr. Manager, I saw you nodding your head. Is that part of a capital plan? I do remember a plan being presented to this city council. It was a number of years ago. Diane Trad probably can remember. I thought it was Adam Bakey that this was part of a, whether it was a grant or a master plan for that particular area, and it included a turf field. Because I agree. It's probably $2 million for that field. That's typically what they are, and where we get this money, especially with 9 C cuts today from the state. But it was a snow dump. I know Tom Belgard and the Parks Department, they did a good job in trying to bring it back. But sorry, there were a few questions in there. Is it in the capital plan, and is it part of some other funding source that?
Yes, we have $400,000 in the capital plan to use for lighting at the at South Common. So we'll be matching that with a park grant from the state, and so we'll have a sizable amount of money to light it up better than it is right now.
To light it, but that will not include a turf surface.
No, but we can certainly look into grants, and we got that years ago for Colley Stadium from the Commonwealth.
Right.
And we can look at that again.
It was a matching grant. It certainly is we got full use out of it, but I think it's important to most cities have have turf fields now, and it's an expense, but we need some funding sources, I understand.
Havel Stadium has a turf field, and Trinity Ambulance advertises on the 50-yard line. So that's what Councilor Leahy was talking about, advertising and using that as a way to generate funds to pay for it. So that's things we're looking into right now is marketing and branding different facilities so we can raise money to improve them.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Council. Council Samaras? Then
Thank you.
Council Rourke, then Council Milonazo.
Mr. Manager, I believe when I had asked questions about the South Common over a year ago, you talked about it being a $7 million project that was decided was approximately $7 million, and you take step by step. Could perhaps, as part of this motion, you can give us an update on what the plans are for the park? Because the lighting, I think, has to be addressed as soon as possible, but you did have an outline for bringing the park back to its original status. And I'd like to report on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Council Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank Council Belanger for bringing the field turf option to the table. You know, there was going to be a motion to be filed in the near future, but, you know, in doing some research, I believe the one at College Stadium was around $500,000, and other cities that have done it, they come in around $500,000 or a little bit more. You know, the one that happened in Lawrence just a few weeks ago was like the Cadillac of field turf, and that was around $800,000. And that was, you know, and with the matching grants that are out there and available, I would imagine that the lighting and the turf could get done rather quickly, and that park could be utilized. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, and what I mean by that is that we're not looking for lights to light South Common like we do Lucy Lockham. We're looking for lights to light South Common for athletic events. So, you know, I would appreciate the manager, when you put the plan together, to work with Keith Rudy and the other people that spoke here this evening to make sure that we do install the correct lights so that everybody will be able to use the field for their proper sporting event, and not, obviously, the Lucy Lockham lights. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. Now we'll return to the regular portion of the agenda. Item 4.1, under unfinished business, is an ordinance to amend the zoning by extending the GI district on the north side of Industrial Avenue. Just to refresh everybody's memory, that we already had a public hearing on this. The public hearing is closed. There are no registered speakers. The council asked for a delay until tonight in order that the city manager might try to negotiate a corridor for the bike path. And that's where we stand, Mr. Manager.
Yes, we've worked very hard relative to coming up with an alternative for the bike pathway, and I had a great meeting with Andrew Marr, who is the owner of Cross Point Towers, and he has committed to us that he's going to extend the bike path from where it ends now by the mobile station all the way down to Industrial Ave, because he's redoing the parking lot and restriping, and he says that while I'm out there, you know, I might as well just do the bike path right down there. So unlike past owners of Cross Point Towers, Andrew Marr is a real partner. I've gone up there myself. Well, I live near the area, so I've walked down there, and I've been looking at different alternatives that we can do. Some of them, at this point in time, don't work. We've had some great conversations with the president of Avocarb. They are in a conversation right now with their board of directors relative to whether they would be able to allot us some space to extend the bike trailway through their parking lot. They sounded very positive when I talked to them. I know other people have talked to them. I'm confident that hopefully, I'm confident something is going to happen, because even if Avocarb doesn't come back, I do have some other options I can employ down the road that I'm looking at in order to extend that bike pathway. So we're working very hard. It's not over. I'm very confident that we're going to be able to come up with a way to extend that bike path across Industrial Ave and right down to the Concord River Greenway. So I'm hopeful and I'm confident that we're going to be able to do that.
Okay, we do not have a motion on the floor at this point. Is there a, Council Milonazo moves to approve, seconded by Council Rourke. Discussion on the motion to approve, Council Leary, then Council Relia.
Now, first I want to thank you, Mr. Manager, and your staff for putting a lot of effort into it. I know from discussing it with you, you've actually driven around the Rotary today looking at options. I think the key is when Councilor Leahy and I first put a motion on probably a couple months ago regarding the Riverbrook area. We were looking, really thinking 5-10 years down the road, that area would become real, and we would have really a trail, a bike path that would begin leading from Bruce Friedman right up to the Concord River. Interestingly enough, that we both got a call from Peter Jarvis, like a couple days after, saying, I'm interested in purchasing that area for business use. And we began to get dialogue and a discussion, and really you took it over appropriately in terms of how do we facilitate that trail. I think all of us at some point have gone out and walked the trail recently. Many of us have went out with Peter Jarvis directly and walked that portion of it. I think initially I was very optimistic, then I was not optimistic, and now I'm even more optimistic, because I think the way we're going to look at this is in terms of connecting Bruce Friedman all the way through the Concord River. This is just one avenue. And what the Jarvis family is willing to do is really give you an acre and a half of land for free. In addition to that, giving you a donation of $10,000 to begin processing a plan that will actually put this in place. And I think, a subsequent motion from Councilor Samaras that was supported by the council to bring this to the economic subcommittee is to look at this as an economic program. Because this is now on the front burner of the city council. This is now an absolutely possible venture that can happen. I think folks were looking at it, and folks have come up to me going, this is never going to happen. It's a pipe dream. It's not a pipe dream, but there are some serious challenges ahead in addition to trying to find that access right from Cross Point, which you, working with Andrew Marr, have brought right to fruition right now. That just happened within a couple of weeks. There are other avenues. We need to find a way around the shopping plaza where Target's at. We need to get through the Tanner Street area that we're currently working on now, then some other obstacles to get to that area. Those challenges are possible to be met once we coordinate the effort and set those goals in place. And I think with meeting with the Economic Subcommittee, that's very, very possible, and rather a lot quicker than 10 years. There's going to be financial issues, and that will be part of it. We need to really think of how we're going to financially support this. Those are issues we're going to have to discuss and work out. I'm going to support the zoning change because Peter Jarvis in particular, has really worked strongly to actually make this happen. And I think from discussing it with you, initially I think you, Mr. Manager, were not overly optimistic, but I think now with the effort that you've put in with Eric Slagle and others, and with working through with Jane Calvin, I think this is going to become reality. In fact, it's probably going to become reality a lot quicker than initially that Councilor Leahy and I had thought. So I will support it. I believe in the agreements that Peter Jarvis has discussed with the city in terms of the extra spot of land, which is like an acre and a half. It's not cheap. If we would have to go out and procure that from the railroad, that'd be $100,000, $200,000. We need to work really hard and expeditiously in terms of connecting from Cross Point over to that area. I think there's a lot of options that we haven't discussed that I don't think are time to discuss now. I think we need to really work that out. I think it will happen. And then we need to put a plan in place, as I said earlier, to go through the rest of it, which I think is very, very possible. So I'm very optimistic. I'm very thankful to Peter Jarvis and his folks for coming to the table and working with us. It's not going to be easy, but at the end of the day, it will happen. So I will support it tonight. And I think ultimately I have the confidence that we will be able to connect that at some point a lot quicker than we had initially had anticipated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Elliott and then Councilor Samaras.
Yeah, I'll be brief, but I think that it's important to strike a balance between, providing a recreational opportunity and bringing people into the city. I mean, this plan, the rail trail, has been in the making. I don't know. I mean, Jane would know longer, better than I, but I think it's 3 decades, 25, 30 years. And I want to thank them for their work and to spearhead the effort to connect, the Concord Greenway to the trail. And it's important. I do believe this is an important aspect of the city to be able to connect, green space to provide opportunities, whether it's walking or bike riding or whatever the case. We look at the use that it gets on the Merrimack River on both sides, and expanding a place for people to go, I think is huge. And knowing, Mr. Manager, that you have options that you can exercise when it comes time, and then there is an open dialogue, it's important to reassure the people that have interest, and I think we all have interest in making this a reality, that when it comes time, when it's time to connect, that we're here, we support you, and we will move forward on it, depending upon how we can get there. So I think it is good news, reassuring to hear you, you state the options, Mr. Manager, and we'll be able to proceed forward. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I'm just going to be somewhat redundant, but what this is all about, I think, is trust. And there are two issues here. First, I've spoken to Peter Jarvis, I've spoken to Attorney Nyman, I've spoken to Jane Calvin, I've spoken to city managers, and many other people, on this issue. When you talk about the two issues, one is economic development. We have a company in Lowell that if we were not to pass this, there's a possibility of losing 40 good jobs, good paying jobs. And what we want when we talk about economic development is to allow a company that is in Lowell, that is successful, to be able to expand and do well. At the same time, we're very interested, this council is very interested in the quality of life in the city and the type of amenities that would draw major companies to Lowell. And those amenities do include a hiking trail, a biking trail. And that's what it's all about. And at this point, I am satisfied that there is more than adequate dialogue going on to ensure that both happens. So I think what this council is looking for is a win-win situation. Win-win means that, one, a good company with people who have shown a willingness to work with us can expand their company. At the same time, a hiking trail, which really has, in a sense, become a dream for a long time because it's been there for a long time, and this issue has to be addressed. I think we have the tools now to address that. There is a plan. This committee did this council did approve to have Jane Calvin and her group to come before the council subcommittee on economic development to further explain what they've done and what their needs are. So we have good information out there and a lot of good people working on this. So I will support this motion because I think it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For starters, I would like to thank the speakers that came 2 weeks ago and spoke on this issue, and also the several emails. This council has received several emails in the previous weeks from supporters of the Freeman Bike Trail and the importance of it to the city and how much they cherish this amenity, if you will, that connects them with many other towns in the suburbs, and we think it's great. But what we have here, the unfortunate issue here is that the parcel in question that Jarvis is trying to obtain is a very, very narrow parcel. Okay, we've all taken site visits. Every councilor took the time to get out there with the Jarvis family, to walk it, to really know what we're talking about. And when you do that, you understand that this is sort of a big ask of the Jarvis family. It will totally undermine what they're trying to achieve in their business expansion, which is to display and sell vehicles. This would seriously inhibit that. It would seriously defeat the whole purpose of acquiring this parcel. But that does not mean that the Jarvis family is not committed to making this happen. They are very much committed. As Councilor Leary spoke, they're willing to donate $10,000 towards this. So as of tonight, I fully intend on supporting the Jarvis family in their expansion, and congratulations to them if this is approved. But I am equally committed to making this happen, to connecting this Freeman Trail to the downtown and the city of Lowell. Absolutely, it is extremely important, but we cannot hold a small business hostage in order to do so. Okay, we have held them up for over 2 months now. They have been very patient. They have tried every angle, and as of tonight, there will be no solution as of tonight, but as Councilor Leary spoke, there will be a solution. This is Lowell. We always find a way, and we will. Whether the manager can work out an agreement with AvCobb on one side of the parcel, or whether it's on the other side of the brook and we put a footbridge that will ultimately connect with the Jarvis parcel in question that widens as it furthers from the street. So there's always a way. We will make this happen. but for tonight, I think it's very important that we support the Jarvis family, what they've done for the city over the course of 40-some-odd years, that they need our help for tonight, but we will get this done. There's no doubt in my mind. This is very important. We realize that. We're with all that bike enthusiasts who do. I use it myself. When I go to the beach on the 4th of July weekend, I'll park off the highway and I'll take a bike right to the beach, and you're allowed to hit many destinations while traffic's gridlock. I appreciate and commend those who use bikes, and it's very important to get this done, and we will. So it will take time, but in the end, it will be a win-win situation. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council. Council Leahy.
Thank you. I just want to say that I'm going to support this, as everyone's already said tonight, that, you know, we know the Jarvis family and their commitment. We appreciate all the emails we got for the bike path for the Jarvis family, and these are just two big economic projects that need to happen. The Jarvis family is very committed to their business, to their employees, to the city, and this bike path is just too big to fail. It's going to go through. It's going to happen a lot faster than we thought, but this is very important. A lot of people behind it, and so I just wanted to briefly mention that why I'm for it, and a lot of good points, and thank you to all the speakers that came down a few weeks ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? If not, roll call.
Council Leahy?
Yes.
Council Leary?
Yes.
Council Mercia?
Yes.
Council Milonazo?
Yes.
Council Rourke?
Yes.
Council Samaras?
Yes.
Council Belanger?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes. Next on the agenda are the remaining communications from the city manager, but before we take that up, I would just like to call the council's attention to this item here, which was gifted to the city by Jim of Jim Sticks. Jim is right there, and he presented this to the city as a gift this evening. And so this is the regular gavel, but if this doesn't work, we've got this. There's Jim Sticks. Under communications, the next we have the Victor Cody dedication. Any discussion on the Victor Cody dedication? Council Leahy.
Thank you. I just want to thank the manager for his response and for the response on the motion, and it looks like it's going to happen sometime in the spring. So thank you for all the hard work.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the Victor Cody dedication? If not, we'll move on to the Diversity Council. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. First of all, I want to thank the city manager for this report and Kevin Coughlin for doing a great report regarding this issue. As far as I'm concerned, this issue is about giving voice to every ethnic group in the city. We call Lowell the Gateway City, and we say it's our strength. And we certainly said it at Lowell High School. When I think about Lowell High School, it was the first co-ed high school in the country, but it was also the first integrated school in the state of Massachusetts, if not the country. So that's the history of Lowell. That's who Lowell is all about. You can look across the country with many cities having problems, demonstrations, and other issues being raised, because I feel that you have in other cities that feel that their people have no voice with the administration of their communities. That's not the case in Lowell. We've proven over many times that we have the chief of police attending many area meetings, city manager attending many meetings, and we have this working. So I believe this model is something that we have to look forward to, because it also includes using the university and Middlesex Community College. I believe if this committee is to be successful, we should also have a subcommittee on diversity issues. So, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion on that we develop a subcommittee on diversity issues to help support this motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Samaras that we develop a subcommittee for diversity issues. Do we have a second to the motion? Second to the motion by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you. All right. If we have that, I could talk, at great lengths on this, but if you do look at the report, it talks about, again, how the previous councils have established the flags to be flown at the JFK Plaza, that the mayor's office has entertained many flag raisings from representing the various countries of origin that are in our city, and it talks about the goodwill that we've established with the folk festivals. But now, the plan is to expand and include literally every group in the city. And the one thing I have to say, no one person speaks for any community. I'm of Greek heritage, and I most certainly cannot say that I speak for the entire Greek community of Lowell. But I think with this group, it will allow good, open, honest dialogue that will make Lowell, I think, one of the models in the country for dealing with diversity and dealing with it as a strength, not a weakness. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on this matter? Hearing none, we'll move on to the four-way stop at Oak Street and Fort Hill Avenue. Councilor Leary.
Thank you. I appreciate the very, very quick report. Just if I have a few questions, I saw Nick is back there. Just, Nick, if I could ask a quick question through you to the traffic engineer. Thanks for coming. Welcome to the folder. It's really good.
Yes, sir.
Just a quick question. I guess the determination, can you educate me in terms of how you determine the volume of automobiles or trucks going through that particular area? What diagnostics did you use and what method did you use?
Well, yes, Counselor. So the warrant to put on four-way stop signs in every direction requires an average of 200 vehicles per hour on the minor street and 300 vehicles per hour on the major street. That's average per hour during an 8-hour period. That's a lot of cars. I sat there for about an hour during the peak hour, and I counted about 50 cars. So right then I could tell, because I know the patterns of traffic pretty well. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I can definitely tell you that if I sit there for an hour during the peak hour and there's only, less than 100 cars total, you're never going to meet that warrant. So for example, the intersection of East Merrimack and High Street in front of the school, I sat there for 8 hours and counted, and that just met the warrant for a four-way stop sign. So if you think about how much traffic is at that intersection, that's what you need for a four-way stop sign. So
I appreciate that, because there were a few folks that asked me the particular question on how you made that determination. The only thing I guess would make a comment, first of all, thank you for taking the time. The only thing I would say is I know that what you're looking at Fort Hill, if there's a way, I don't know if that's the most appropriate place to put the stop sign, because that one's on Oak and the rest are on Fort Hill. So I don't know if that makes much sense, but if you could look into that. But I do appreciate the timely response to it. It was a response from some of the folks in the neighborhood, so thank you very much. And thank you for the explanation in terms of how you make that determination. Thanks.
Any further discussion on this item, Council?
Just quickly, if I could ask Nick one more question through you.
Yes, sir.
So where this came up through the neighborhood, did you observe people parking too close to the intersection so you can't see? Should we be dealing with that, or?
No, I mean, I sat there and I observed traffic for a while, and I'm sure when the school gets out, when Moody School gets out, I'm sure the traffic picks up a little bit.
Right.
But again, it needs to be a sustained traffic for 8 hours. When I was sitting there, it was just barely any traffic at all. I mean, minutes would go by when not a single vehicle was coming, and when they did come, they stopped, they looked around, they went. It was pretty good flow. I mean, it wasn't. I didn't see any, people speeding. I didn't see,
Okay.
maybe one person had a bad experience there, but.
Sure. All right, no, thank you. Thank you for addressing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can't imagine someone sitting there 8 hours counting cars. That is unbelievable. You have a very difficult job.
I love my job, ma'am.
I'm glad you do, because I don't know too many people that would want to do it.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion on this? Or if not, we'll move on to blocking intersections. Any discussion on blocking intersections? Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the quick response, Mr. Manager. I'm glad you see to put the electronic message boards out there. That happen rather quickly, you think? The boards be out there rather quickly, the signs, electric signage? Okay, thank you.
Councilor Elliott.
I agree. I think this is important, Mr. Manager. There's certain intersections you're focusing on. I mean, I do see Wood. It says Wood and Middlesex Street, which is but what about in the morning at VFW and Bridge? Those are, I think there's a couple. And if I could put a plug in, if you should put Officer Manousis on them, because he does VFW and Mammoth Road, and there's no cars there, and he does a great job. But I think particularly in the morning that there are some bad ones, right?
This was really an example of a place that we'd put it. We plan to move them around to
Oh, you
different.
do?
Yes.
Excellent.
So this was just an example of one place that we'll do it, but we will move it around to places that we've observed the blocking.
Okay, thank you.
And that will be some of the ones that you brought up.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on item E, blocking intersections? Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just so people know, it's not like people weren't cited. Since the first of the year, 139 motorists have been cited for causing gridlock. So at least somebody gets cited for it, which they probably won't do that again. I know I would.
Any further discussion on that item? If not, we'll move on to the Senior Center Crosswalk. Any discussion on the Senior Center Crosswalk? Councilor
Yes,
Mercia.
thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager. It's brighter. I had my sunglasses on when I went by last night.
Any further discussion on that item? If not, we'll move on to item G, the Moody Street fence. No discussion on the Moody Street fence. The next is the yard waste extension. Moving on to the collegiate charter. And on again to the Perry Street parking. Council Blanchard.
Mr. Mayor, the collegiate, can I comment on the collegiate charter?
Absolutely.
Thank you, I did sort of passed me by. Well, I want to thank for the extensive traffic report, but, you know, it seems like this issue here, it's at bay, it's under control. The issue is the charter school is going to, student body is going to more than double in 6 years. So obviously, the traffic flow is going to, same things is going to happen in that regard. So through you, Mr. Mayor, to the manager, if we converted this to officials at the collegiate school, let them know we can work. This is a conversation that we need to keep under control sooner rather than later as the school grows. So this is very important, Mr. Manager. So I just want you to make sure we keep in communication with the collegiate charter school on this issue. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any more discussion on that item or on the Perry Street parking? If not, the last item under the communication with the city manager is the minimal residential factor, which should be referred to a public hearing. Do we have a motion referred to a public hearing at 7 o'clock on December 13th by Councilor Milanazzo, second by Councilor Rourke? Any discussion on that particular, on setting into a public hearing? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Now the chair would entertain a motion to accept and place all of the communications from the manager on file by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Samaras. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is a communication from the city manager to reappoint Paul Francoeur to the Cemetery Commission. The motion would be to accept and place on file by Councilor Leary, seconded by Councilor Milanazzo, Councilor Mercia. All in favor, discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is a communication to appoint excuse me, communication to appoint Killian Minch to the Sustainability Council. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion to approve by Councilor Milanazzo, second by Councilor Rourke. Discussion on the motion, roll call.
Council Leahy?
Yes.
Council Leary?
Yes.
Council Mercia?
Yes.
Council Milanazzo?
Yes.
Council Rourke?
Yes.
Council Samaras?
Yes.
Council Belanger?
Yes.
Council Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes. Next, we have a communication to appoint James J. Gaffney III to the Veterans Commission. We have a motion approved by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Leahy. Yes, I know.
Is required.
We have a motion to approve. Motion. Motion approved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Counsel Leahy?
Yes.
Counsel Leary?
Yes.
Counsel Mercia?
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo?
Yes.
Counsel Rourke?
Yes.
Counsel Samaras?
Yes.
Counsel Belanja?
Yes.
Counsel Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes. Mr.
Mr.
Gaffney, do you want
Gaffney's
to come to
here.
the microphone and just say a word or two?
I want to thank the manager and the council for this appointment. The Veterans Commission has an important, the Veterans Commission's charter gives it an important mission, but that's consistent with the priority that this city has always given to recognizing veterans and meeting their needs. I consider the appointment an honor. I consider the appointment an honor. I look forward to serving the city and my brother and sister veterans, and hope that I can make a contribution. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, if we could just step back for a second, Killian Minch is here too. Do you want to come to the microphone and say a word or two?
Hi, I'd like to thank everybody that came here today. Very grateful for this appointment, and plan on being as proactive as I can, and thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a communication from the manager appointing Beth Purcell and Sheila Haggerty to the Disability Commission. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion to approve by Counsel Leary, seconded by Counsel Leahy. Discussion on the motion, roll call.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy?
Yes.
Counsel Leary?
Yes.
Counsel Mercia?
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo?
Yes.
Counsel O'Rourke?
Yes.
Counsel Samaras?
Yes.
Counsel Belanja?
Yes.
Counsel Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes. And I believe that Beth and Sheila are both here. Do you want to come to the microphone?
Hi, I'm Beth Brassel. I just want to thank you very much for this opportunity to serve the city, and look forward to helping in any way that I can. Thank you very much.
Dave, did you want to say something too? Okay. All right.
We look forward to working with Beth, and I'm very proud of her. And I've known her for a number of years, and so once again, I look forward to working with her, and I guess that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Next, from the votes from the city manager, a vote to accept a gift from the Digital Credit Union in the amount of $7,500 for the Paul Memorial Library.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I think another member of the
Jeff
Disability
Wilson.
Commission would like to speak.
Jeff Wilson would like to,
Okay,
he's the
sure.
chair of the Disability Commission.
Thanks, members of the council, and to the mayor and city manager. I would like to thank you all for appointing these two fine young ladies to our commission. They're going to be a great addition. I'm looking forward to working with them, and I'm very happy to have them aboard. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have a vote to accept a gift from the Digital Federal Credit Union in the amount of $7,500 for the Paul Memorial Library. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading. Hearing no objection, we'll go to the second reading. Authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to accept a gift of $7,500 for use by the city of Lowell Pollard Memorial Library. Do we have a motion to approve by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Samaras? Discussion on the motion, roll call.
Counsel Leahy?
Yes.
Counsel Leary?
Yes.
Counsel Mercia?
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo?
Yes.
Counsel Rourke?
Yes.
Counsel Samaras?
Yes.
Counsel Belanja?
Yes.
Counsel Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote to transfer the amount of $42,800 in funds for training and evaluation and repair and maintenance of police jail areas in the Lowell Police Department. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and go to the second reading in order to transfer the amount of $42,800 in funds for training and evaluation and repair and maintenance of the police jail areas in the Lowell Police Department. Do we have a motion to approve?
Robert,
Motion approved by Counsel Rourke, seconded by Counsel Leary. Discussion on the motion, roll call.
Counsel Leahy?
Yes.
Counsel Leary?
Yes.
Counsel Mercia?
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo?
Yes.
Counsel Rourke?
Yes.
Counsel Samaras?
Yes.
Counsel Belanger?
Yes.
Counsel Elliott?
yes,
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes. The next 4 items are from the reports for the wire inspector. Do we have
Move
a
to
motion
bundle.
to bundle and accept and file all 4 reports?
Absolutely,
By Counsel
Mr. Mayor. Thank
Rourke,
you.
seconded by Counsel Samaras. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. So we'll move on to item 8.1, which is a request for the installation of 1 handicap parking sign at 271 Concord Street. Do we have a motion to approve for 60 days?
And the second one is the same, if we could approve that for a 60-day trial. I know I'm ahead of it, but
Okay, all right. So you're working with me, Counsel Mercy.
I'm trying to.
Okay. And also approve a handicap parking sign at 532 Gorham Street for a period of 60 days.
Right,
trial
thank you.
basis. The motion approved by Counsel Mercia, seconded by Counsel Rourke. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, we have a request for the removal of curbing in front of the driveway at 249 Lincoln Street. The motion would be to refer to the Law Department for report and recommendation by Counsel Rourke, seconded by Counsel Samaras. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, we move on to City Council motions. The first motion of the evening is a motion by Counsel Leary. Request that the city manager discuss the parking challenges and create a resolution with our partner, University of Massachusetts Lowell, as it relates to students on street parking on Livingston Avenue and the surrounding area streets. Seconded by Counsel Leahy. Counsel Leary.
Just quickly, it's a residential neighborhood, it's near a dormitory. There's probably not access, so something, just open the dialogue and try to resolve that situation. That'd be very beneficial to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Counsel Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did hear from a few residents on Livingston Avenue, and at first, see, when plans come before the zoning board or the planning board, and they say they're going to do this, that, and yes. I brought in a motion a couple of weeks ago about Perry Street and the condo that was there, and how everybody agreed they were going to park within the confines of the area. Now that the time has passed and a year or two has gone by, they're infiltrating the street, and not that, the street is owned by everybody, I guess, but they made a deal, and now it's gotten out of hand to the point where I referred it to the city manager, and they're going to probably do the parking restriction on one side, which I hope they do that, because that's what's warranted. Same situation is happening on Livingston Avenue, where neighbors noticed that cars were trickling in from the area of the dorms over there. Didn't say too much, but now it's gotten out of hand. Now neighbors are waking up, going outside after getting ready to go to work, seeing bottles and cans and beer bottles, and they're even seeing vomit all over the place. Now, this is not the way that it's supposed to be. There's an agreement. Now it's infiltrating into the neighborhoods to the point where there's no respect there anymore, and so something has to be done. I know there was talk about putting, people that live there restricted parking to the. That I don't know that should work. Why should neighbors have to go through resident parking? This isn't about them having to get stickers to resident park. We're burdening the neighborhood even further, and this isn't fair to the people that have lived there all those years. So I just had to weigh in on that aspect of it.
Thank you, Counsel. Mr. Manager.
I met with one of the neighbors yesterday, and we discussed this issue. I think, and what we're looking into, I think what may help in this situation is have no parking on both sides of the street up until Lupine Avenue. And that way, the people you actually go to school at the dormitory. There's classrooms in there. That's what's happening, is that the students are parking on Livingston Ave and going into to the classroom. So if we make it no parking during the day, and enforce it through our parking enforcement officer, I think they'll get the message and won't park
Okay,
there anymore.
they need to get the message, because now it's becoming it's burdensome. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Elliott.
Thank you. Just briefly, Mr. Mayor. I mean, you're right, Mr. Manager, and that's something maybe we have to take a look at in our zoning code, because these new dormitories, they live there and they are educated there, but other students come that may not be living at the dorm. So I agree. But there were 21 cars on Livingston Street yesterday, and it's just becoming a problem. It's a good motion. I support it, and whether it's here or other places where there are new dorms that are also teaching facilities is something that we may have to look at. But it's good to know you met with the neighbors, and this is well on track. Thank you.
Councilor Leary, then Councilor Leahy.
No, just, lots been said, but I think ultimately, thank you for being proactive. It's just an issue of reaching out and discussing it, come up with a solution, and it sounds like you already have it halfway there, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Through you, the manager, I just want to ask, this is one of those things where, so when you did meet with the neighbors, it's just a thing that kind of drives me crazy. How do we know that, like, they don't have a guest parking on the street and then they get tickets? That's the thing that, like Councilor Mercy was saying, drives me nuts, because it restricts people in their own neighborhood now.
Well, that's one of the problems with the residential parking is you don't know whether it's a guest there. But Livingston have, and I discussed this with the neighbor, they all have driveways that will service their own vehicles and some visitors. So it seems like they don't oppose having no parking at all the way up to Lupine.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure you handled it. It's just one of those things that doesn't sound right when it comes out, but thank you for doing that.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Councilor Leary and Councilor Samaras. Request that the city manager review the 2008 master plan in order to ascertain if any aspect of the plan should be brought back to the community for reevaluation and make changes if appropriate. The motion needs no second. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Okay, when we talk about plans, I mean, any plan is subject to change. That may not be necessary. But when Councilor Leary and myself were looking at this, we were looking at the Hamilton Canal in particular in 2008. And I believe in 2013, there was a reevaluation of the entire master plan, Mr. Manager. And I'm not sure of that, but the thing is, I know there hasn't been a reevaluation of the Hamilton Canal aspect. And that plan actually will continue or determine the direction that Lowell will be going in the next few years. So I think before we make any steps in that area, perhaps we could have people in the DPD to come before the Committee on Economic Development to explain what has happened, what the plan's about, and we could possibly determine if any changes or if we should bring it back to have it reviewed by the community. I'm just not sure at this particular point, but I do know that any steps that we take at the Hamilton Canal area are going to be very important. And I just want to make sure that we're in accordance with what steps have to be taken. I don't know if Councilor Leary has what he'd like to add to that.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Leahy?
No comment.
Councilor Leary.
Just really quick, I think everything that Councilor Samaras said, but I think there's a lot of motions in different areas. Want to make sure that if we have a plan, are we adhering to it, or do we want to change the plan? Tonight we talked about the bike path. Bike path, I think, is very doable. Is this even within our plan, or is it a small part, a large part? Is it an afterthought? Different items like that. Hamilton in the Innovation District, as important as it is for the city, there's a big city. And we're talking about Bridge Street. We're talking about, Eastern Bank is leaving that area of the over by Aiken Street. What are we doing? Does the plan have to be adjusted? It's a very comprehensive plan. Don't expect to have a response like next week. Just your thoughts on it. And if it's something that we are aligned, then fine. That's good to know. And we should be referencing the plan when we make decisions. Is it in line with the plan, or is the plan really obsolete? That's something that should become part of our vernacular as we go forward making decisions, or not making decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Councilor Samaras.
To the manager, the one thing is we don't want to delay any aspect of what we plan to do. You have brought in a planner for a developer for the Hamilton Canal area. But I think to take some time to review the plan and ensure that we are going in the right direction. I think as a council, some of us want it to be all commercial, some of us commercial and residential. There's so much out there, but there is no harm in taking a step backward to take a quick look. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. Next motion of the evening is a motion by Councilor Samaras. Request the city manager of the proper department create a process that will allow downtown residents to have access to parking during city festivals. Seconded by Councilor Leahy. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I did attend a downtown neighborhood meeting. I think the city manager is aware of that. But during the meeting, one thing that did come out, which I think is very important, we talk about wanting more people to move into the downtown, to buy condos, to rent apartments, because by moving into the downtown, it creates a different type of vitality in the downtown area. And I think we've been very successful at that. But some of their concerns are, we also want to ensure that we have events like the Folk Festival and other major events that actually close the streets. And by closing some of the streets, we do greatly restrict parking or access to the parking garages for many of the people that live in the downtown. Their concern was that many people who are disabled have a great deal of difficulty during the festival times, or some of the elderly. It's just very difficult. So I'm asking that the Department of Plan Development, or possibly Nick David from the garages, work with the neighborhood group to talk about what other alternatives could be taken, or what planning could take place when we have a major festival. I think, during those festivals, there are a lot of golf carts that carry people back and forth, and maybe that's one of the situations to get people to volunteer, to be able to take some people who do not have the ability to walk at great length, to be able to have access to their homes or to their vehicles. It's just, this is just, when you have success, success brings problems, and this is a problem that many people face. So I'm just asking, Mr. Manager, that you work your magic and have some of your staff work with the neighborhood group. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Councilor Samaras. Request that the city manager of the proper department improve lighting in the rear entrance of the Leo Roy parking garage, and to ensure that the gates on the rear walkway are closed during the night.
Mr. Manager, thank you. Thank you.
Seconded by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. This is another issue raised by the downtown neighborhood group, and their concern, and my concern, and Councilor Belanger, we've often talked about it many times, about the lighting on Merrimack Market Street, and it's quite dark, but their concern was really at the back of the Leroy garage, the walking trail along the canal, that some of the lights are out and that the gates are not seen as closed at the appropriate time at nighttime. So there's a concern about safety in that area, in that issue. So that's just something that I'd like to see the city to look at and ensure that we have the lighting that's necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Councilor Samaras. Request that the city manager update the city council regarding the land swap between the city of Lowell and the Lowell National Historical Park as it pertains to the Hamilton Canal parking garage. Seconded by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I just wanted you to know, Mr. Manager, I was busy. Looking for something to do. No, but thank you, Mr. Manager. As always, your crew does a good job. The issue on the land swap, I think what we just need to have is an update, because the building of the garage for the Hamilton Innovation District Center is very, very important. And as we know, that this land swap has had to go through many hoops to get where it is, but I'd like to be able to have this council updated as to where it actually is at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, all opposed? So voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Council Elliott. Request that the city manager provide a report on the results from testing of the water pipes in the Lowell Public Schools. Seconded by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you. I'll speak more on this when the report comes through, Mr. Manager. I know this is very positive. It was a good thing that we're ahead of the curve. I know the newspaper did something statewide, but I think it's important that we reassure the people in the city that we are in good shape. So I know those results have been forthcoming, so I'll talk about it more when we get the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next two motions were taken up previously by the City Council, so we'll skip ahead to 9.9. It's a motion by Councilor Rourke. Request that the city manager inform the council on Lowell's active shooter response protocol. Response should include a multi-agency actions from the Lowell School Department, the Lowell Police Department, the Lowell Fire Department, Emergency Services, Trinity Ambulance, and the Lowell General Hospital. Seconded by Councilor Samaras. Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion speaks for itself.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed? So voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Councilor Belanger. Request that the city manager of the traffic engineer establish 15-minute parking at commercial building at the corner of Branch Street and Queen Street. Seconded by Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. This parcel is the incident where the Branch Street fire took place. And since then, it has been rebuilt, okay, with no residential component, which I think is very important, because shortly after the aftermath of that incident, Councilor Elliott came in with a motion to see what we can do about lowering the number of residential units in that parcel. So while there's not much we can do, there's a grandfather clause that if they build within a year, they could have had as many as 9 to 11 residential units, again, what they had, without getting required permits to do so. But the current owner did not do that. So Councilor Elliott still got his wish without having to oppose that with any measure. So in my instance, what I received was a phone call from the business owner. And, in my opinion, we sort of owe that business who did not do the residential component in that neighborhood, which seriously less the strain on the parking, on-street parking in that neighborhood. So as many as roughly 10 units would have resulted in another 20 to 25 cars potentially on the street. Now, that doesn't happen. But what is going on is what we're seeing on Livingston Ave, where abutters from the neighboring streets, Dover and Queen and whatnot, are coming and parking right around his business and staying there, and it's hurting him immensely. And he's got a beautiful new building, beautiful business there, and he needs our help on these parking spaces. So it's been looked into by Nick Bosnetto. He went up there. We've got some very favorable news that he was already grandfathered with those 15-minute spaces, and that the fire tragedy, they were removed and never put back up. So that's the good news. So I think they're up as early as today. So that's very positive for that business in that neighborhood. So, Mr. Manager, to ease your workload, I don't think there's a need for a response on this motion. But at the time, I thought it was very important to give that business the assistance that it needs, and it's been completed. If not, it will be within days. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed? Councilor Elliott.
Boy, you have magic, Mr. Manager. It's done before you even know it. So, that liquor store has parking spaces, and probably a follow-up, that the lot is filthy. But, I'm wondering what he uses, what they use those parking spots. That's right across the way. But, I mean, to keep that corridor open anyway makes a lot of sense because there's a lot of traffic. But if we could look into that, that'd be great. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted.
Last motion of the evening from Mayor Kennedy. Request city manager and the DPD plan a special event in conjunction with the mayor's office and the city council designed to showcase the Hamilton Canal Innovative District. Invitees should include representatives from the Massachusetts Competitive Partnership, regional CEOs, trade agencies CEOs, healthcare, life science, and higher education executives, and other appropriate life science trade groups. Second by Councilor Samaras. Mayor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This motion is designed just to try to bring a little more focus and attention to the Hamilton Canal Innovation District than maybe the way it's been so far, and to reach out to other people that, I think that probably people in Lowell are familiar with the Hamilton Canal Innovation District, even probably people in Greater Lowell, but I'm not so sure, excuse me, I'm not so sure the people outside, 10 miles out, 25 miles out, I'm not so sure that they're aware of the Hamilton Canal Innovation District. And so this would be an event that the city manager would put together with the DPD in conjunction with the mayor's office and the city council, as the motion states. And it would be a one-day event that would be meant and designed to showcase the Hamilton Canal Innovation District. And I think that we have there's a lot to present on that day. I think that, the Lowell Plan has recently done a movie that could be shown on that day. You've got our state senator, Eileen Donahue, is the chairman of economic development. She would be an important person to have there. Certainly Steve Tello or representatives from the university would be important to be there, as well as Congresswoman Tsongas and other people. But it's really not meant for, it really wouldn't be an event that would be meant for local people. It would be meant for people that are not familiar with the Hamilton Canal District at all. And just to get it started, Mr. Manager, I have compiled a list, a partial list of people that could be invited. And I think that if we do this, and it needs to be carefully planned so that we do it at a time when the people that we would like to be there are going to be available and would be able to be invited. But I also think that we should invite some of the media outside of the Lowell Sun. No offense to the Lowell Sun, but I do think it would be good to have the Boston Globe, the Boston Business Journal, and other publications there as well. And probably we could get the Lowell Plan to participate with a marketing plan that would run ads in conjunction with this whole day. And I just think that it's worthwhile doing this to give it one great shot to see how we could do. And the way I envision this going forward is that there would be a little committee that would be able to give you input on, what's a good idea, what's not a good idea, what's going to work and what's not going to work. But I really do think that if we're going to be, I don't know that we've ever done anything like this, and I do think that it's worthwhile giving it one shot. And I would tell every member of the city council that I think that that's all we have on this is one shot. There's one time. And so if we're careful and we put it together carefully, I really think that it might pay dividends. And that's the gist of the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I think this is a great motion. We all want the Hamilton Canal Innovation District to work. We want to develop to make it work. But I do believe, and I think it's important, that this city take the necessary steps to showcase this area. There's no better way to do anything like this than to do it yourself. And I think by taking an action, we will actually help or facilitate the development of this area. I think it's the smart thing to do. Just an aside, last night I received a call from a former student from Lowell High School who's in Washington, D.C., who's quite successful working with the high-tech companies. And I guess he's someone that keeps his eyes on the city of Lowell by looking at what goes into the agenda for the city council meeting. And he himself said he would love to be part of something like this, and he sees the ability to bring in many other companies. We know that many people have left the city of Lowell to become quite successful. And I think the mere fact that someone saw this, by looking at an agenda of a city council meeting from out of town, I think states volumes as to what the potential is for something like this, that if we actually reach out to contact these major developers and businesses. When you look at Lowell, I'll constantly state, here's Lowell between 3 highways, a railroad, a major university and college for a workforce. we've got what it takes and many amenities that good companies would love to be involved with. And I think that sometimes we assume that everybody knows what Lowell can offer, but you find that many people don't really have a good understanding of what the city of Lowell is all about. And I think Mayor Kennedy's come up with a great motion to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Samaras. Councilor Leary.
Just briefly, I think, no pun intended, I think it's very innovative for the Innovation District. I think I think it really is, because I think if we're gonna go out there and compete, we're gonna have to do it on our own. We're not gonna have to be able to do it just with with Wynn doing it. We're gonna have to do it on our own a little bit. We're gonna need to coordinate with the assets that we do have, the university, the college, the business groups. And I think if we're able to have success with this is gonna help with our planning down the road in terms of tax base. That's what we're all really interested at the end of the day, is the tax base. How do we minimize that for the residential and be able to attract more businesses? And this is really the biggest area for us. So if we're able to do this right, we're able to take advantage of it, I think that's a positive thing for the city down the road. And I think the motion is timely. I think it's a good motion. I think we're proactive with it, and we really hit it on the target. It's going to be a positive thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Manager Murphy.
I think this is a great idea because, as you all know, as part of the master development agreement, we retain the right to market the Hamilton Canal District on our own and take parcels out that we can develop on our own. So if we have an open house and if we attract business here or more businesses, we can market that ourselves and spur the development on our own. So I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. Any other comments? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes. I have a suspension of the rules by Councilor Leahy. Second by Councilor Mercia. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion by Councilor Leahy, request city manager organize a walk through the city schools to review progress of the repairs being done. Seconded by Councilor Leary. Councilor Leahy.
Motion speaks for itself. When I called down to the clerk's office, they just finished writing up the agenda, so thank you.
Mayor Kennedy.
I'd just like to say that I think that's a great motion. I think it's timely. I know that we did that, Council Leary and myself, and probably some others did it probably 4 years ago, and I think it was worthwhile. I think that when you do a tour like that, it raises the issue on the agenda and makes it be important. So I think it's a good idea, that motion. Thank you.
Okay. Comments being done. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. Next section of the agenda. Oh, what is that?
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Vice Mayor, since we're under suspension, I would just like to bring up something as well that we probably got an email about. It's about a situation of the towing.
Okay. Request by Councilor Mercia, under suspension, bring something up. Second by Councilor Leahy. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I know that you're aware of it. I believe the city manager's aware of it as well. I don't know how many years we've approved of towing contracts, but there's a situation that I really didn't realize. A situation happened where a police officer noted that a car parked did not have the proper registration. While it was being straightened out, a tow truck was called, and the tow truck driver said, the police said, well, you really don't have to tow it now. They straightened it out over the phone. And the towing company driver said you could pay him $162 on the scene, or he would tow the car and you would pick it up at the hookup when they get it to the garage and pay $157 instead of $162. So naturally, the guy didn't want to go through that hassle, so he paid the $162. Now, you might think that this is absurd, but nobody did anything wrong here. It's in the contract that the towing company can actually do that. When they come out, even though they don't tow your car, you still have to pay for it. I think that's kind of strange that this is happening. So I would just like to say if we could revisit that the towing contracts to see what that is all about and probably revise that agreement that's there. I think that if a car didn't get hooked up and taken off, then they shouldn't be charged for it. It's like I called a cab, but my brother came and got me, but I have to pay the cab driver anyway because he showed up. I mean, this is kind of strange. So if we could just revisit that and look at that. That's just the issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. If I could real quick, Mr. Manager, I've heard of a couple instances like this as well, where, the passenger is there and, they get, offered right away, either pay the money or we're towing your vehicle. Mr. Manager?
Yeah. I reviewed the contract today, and it says in order, they're supposed to get half the fee, which is $56, but only if they put the hook onto the car or they bring the lift and get it to the tires. But the issue that we're talking about, that didn't happen. So I'm looking into whether they should have charged them anything at all. And if they did, if they charged other people in the past, we're going to be looking for reimbursement of that money from them also.
Right. I understand where they're coming from, but justice, let's be fair in this city here. And that seems like a shakedown. I don't know. That's my interpretation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Manager, I think it's really actually a terrible look for the city when someone's ready to leave the spot, and then, I've heard examples of them being blocked in and being said, hey, either pay the money or, we're towing your vehicle. So if you could look into that, and Mr. Manager, so as far as you're concerned, if the tow is not hooked up, or if the chain's not on the vehicle, they're good to go? All right, thank you. Next section of the agenda is announcements.
Mr. Chairman? Thank you.
Sure.
If I could, I just would like to, as the mayor and on behalf of the whole city council, I'd just like to commend and thank all of the department heads and the employees at City Hall today for the job they did. They put on a spectacular job. I know that the Miles brothers had a great time, and I think probably everybody here had a great time from 4 to 6 during the Christmas party. And I think we had one of the biggest crowds that we've had so far. So, and I think we're saying that a lot as we go along with these events that we have annually. I think it always seems that the crowds are getting a little bigger and a little bigger. So I think it just goes to show that we're doing something right. But certainly, I think that everybody that had an opportunity to come to the open house today at City Hall enjoyed it. And just once again, I think that they did the city employees and the department heads did a spectacular job. The City Hall looked great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Elliott.
I just had an announcement. I should have brought it up on the subcommittee reports, but there will be a finance subcommittee meeting this coming Monday. I know, Monday. Because there is a meeting on Tuesday already scheduled, so Monday at 5:30, and we'll be discussing the proposed fee increase on permits. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. And this Saturday, December 10th, is a WCAP Salvation Army telethon from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. or whenever they reach their goal, which I believe they set at 150,000. Whether you go to see the firefighters that are set up with the boot drive all over the city, or you come to the Owl Diner, where I will be there with the District Attorney, Marion Ryan, and my daughter, there'll be chances galore to give money. And if you feel that you've been blessed, there are those in the city that are not. So if we could give to those less fortunate than ourselves, that'd be great. And so Saturday's the day. Please dig in and take out that money and help someone in need. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. It's going to be a very charitable and busy this coming Saturday, where the Salvation Army Radiothon goes on till 2 p.m., but from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Tavern at Lindsay's, both myself and school committee member Robert Gignac are hosting Presents for Residents of the Megan House, where it's we're asking residents of the city and supporters for a small ask to bring clothing and bath and beauty products, anything a young woman from ages 18 to 26 can use. And this all will benefit the residents of the Megan House. So I know it's a busy season where many people are being asked for favors, but this is a very similar, it's what we call our version of Toys for Tots. So we're asking people to come by Lindsay's Tavern this Saturday, 2 to 6, with a small gift of anything that a woman ages 18 to 26 might use. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, Councilor. Councilor,
And former mayor and City Council, Councilor Caulfield will also be at that event. So just wanted to make sure everyone knew that.
Thank you. Mr. Manager.
And this Thursday evening at 6:30 PM at the Irish Auditorium at Lowell High School will be the last community meeting relative to the new high school and what people feel that should be. So we encourage everybody who's interested to attend that meeting Thursday night at 6:30 PM at the Irish Auditorium.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any other announcements? Motion to adjourn by Mayor Kennedy, second by Councilor Samaras. Good night.